Ajuri, during his last broadcast, the president spoke about buying 3,000 CNG-fueled vehicles. When will they come in?
Thank you very much. So, yes, in his remarks, he referred to 100 billion naira that will be spent on the procurement of 3,000 20-seater CNG-fueled buses. So we are currently in full-scale negotiations with not just indigenous manufacturers, but also those who can ensure that we get these buses on the ground as quickly as possible. The president, in his remarks, gave a timeline for the distribution of palliatives of approximately 9 months between now, effectively, and the end of March 2024. Of course, there are going, when you're talking about manufacturing of CNG-fueled buses, this is going to probably take longer than, for example, releasing 200,000 metric tons of grains from the strategic grain reserves, for example. So it's probably going to go beyond the first quarter of 2024. We're going to be looking at releasing them in phases of hundreds of CNG-fueled buses. But in addition to that, providing single-digit interest rate loan facilities to transportation companies across all the urban centers across all states of the Federation, so that not only are they taking custody of the buses, which will divide by 4, essentially, the transportation cost of PMS-fueled buses as against the CNG-fueled buses for the average, Nigerian citizen using those commercial transportation systems. But what we're also saying is that on the flip side of this, we have to be actively looking at EVs. You alluded to that quite a bit in your intro. Right now, the National Automotive Development and Design Company, NADDC, has already been able to establish 18 EV skills workshops and training workshops across the country, where they've already begun the process of transferring skills to local mechanics and local artisans who are going to be involved in the process of ensuring that we have a sustainable structure of EV, mechanical maintenance centers across the country. In addition to that, the NADDC has put in place about 3 different areas where we have solar-powered electric vehicle charging stations in Enugu, in Lagos, and in Sokoto. That has to be massively and swiftly upgraded across the country. We believe we can do that over the course of the next 18 to 24 months. But the most important part of this is accessibility, finance, right? Which is why the federal government, under its new automotive development policy, has put in place a 10-year tax relief on all electric vehicle developers across the country, in addition to a 5-year tax holiday for all companies that want to develop either PMS or CNG-fueled automobiles across this country. So whether you're looking at the issue of demand, which has to do with making sure you have these centers where you can convert all of these vehicles. We want to do 1 million vehicle conversions to CNG over the course of the next 5 years. That's going to be done in a process of phases. And the first phase is what I laid out in our agreement with NIPCO, which the president is very, very excited about.
So let's talk about electric cars, electric vehicles once again. What does the government plan to do to ensure that indigenous Nigerian companies go into manufacturing, not just assembling vehicles? Because you look at, China was able to sell 1.2 million electric vehicles in 1 year. This looks like the future where we can really make a lot of money. At least we can get patronage from the West Coast if we move into that area. What is government doing to ensure that it galvanizes indigenous companies to get involved in electric car manufacturing?
And this is really where, Babajide, where the National Automotive Design and Development Council, I think, has been quite proactive in recent months, where they've been able to galvanize actors like one of the ones you mentioned, which is Jet EV. But you also have Hyundai Kona Electric Motor Company. Innocent is gradually trying to get involved. in that field as well, and others. We want to ensure that we have as many hands at the table as possible to really create a competitive marketplace, which obviously would eventually bring costs down through the competition. But I think it's obvious that we have, we are very much beneficiaries of being a country that's sited on the equator. We have plenty of sunlight, and we need to leverage that, which is why the future of the Nigerian transportation system is really going to involve having these solar-powered, as against electricity-powered, solar-powered, recharge stations across our federal expressways, where we know that vehicles and solar-powered electric buses, for example, are able to move to the tune of approximately 250 to 300 kilometers before they need to recharge. If we can have that kind of availability of these solar-powered recharge stations across our federal expressways, not necessarily just built by government, but of course built by private sector partners, just the way you see Tesla doing it across Western countries. We can do that locally, and we can do it quite cheaply, obviously with the availability of solar power. So this is going to be the way of the future. But then you also have to be pragmatic about the fact of what is on ground today, and the fact that we have so much domestic gas resource that has been underutilized, that we have just been flaring and wasting and even destroying our environment with, when we could have been turning that into US dollars and foreign exchange earnings. So our focus now is to be sure that we deal, yes, with EVs simultaneously as we deal with the issue of maximizing the utilization of our domestic gas resources, so that we develop our local market to the point where we can actually have the competitive regional advantage to be able to be exporting CNG fueled and electronic and EVs that are produced in Nigeria to our neighbors, who are also going to be using Nigerian, produced CNG. So we get the benefit of, them buying the front end and also them buying the back end, all at the benefit of the Nigerian economy. The president is determined to ensure that Nigeria's economy gets full value for all aspects of the value chain, whether it is EV, whether it is CNG-fueled automobiles or mass transit systems. We want to make sure that we're not just simply importing. Yes, in the short run, because of the urgency of the situation.